If you and your siblings have inherited a house and you're interested in keeping the house and they want to sell it, can you buy them out? And if so, how? In this video, I'll go over the steps or the process you may want to follow to do just that. Most of the time when someone passes away, they leave behind a property that gets inherited by their children. Sometimes there's a will that states there are other beneficiaries other than the siblings, but most of the time it's siblings. Sometimes it can be a real complex situation if there are one or two or more siblings that want to sell the house and one that wants to keep the house maybe as a rental and investment property or to live in. Often, the more people that are involved, the more opinions there are, and as you can imagine, emotions can quickly escalate and things can get a bit tricky. But if there's a process you can follow, it will help keep things fair and equitable for all parties involved. Typically, when siblings inherit a property, they tend to inherit equal shares of the property, which helps to keep the process simple. But I've seen where one beneficiary received 20% of the property and the other two beneficiaries received 40% each of the property. So if you find yourself in a situation where you or one of the heirs want to buy out the others, here's how you could go about calculating it and what that process may look like. First, really lean on your attorney or seek legal advice. You want everyone that is involved to come to agreeable terms. And if a parent or your parents left a home to their children and it was the home that the siblings grew up in and one sibling wants to keep the property as an investment to rent it out and the other siblings want to sell their family home, you can imagine how emotional this can be. Your attorney will help you know what options are available. They may help you make a plan for how to get through the transaction, and they may help in offering an outline of the terms of the agreement. And if you don't already have an attorney and would like an introduction or a referral, you can always reach out to me. Next, the person who wants to keep the property is going to have to buy out the others and pay them their share of what the fair market value is or what the home might sell for. And it's so tempting to go to Zillow to see what a property may be worth, but it's not always accurate. And while you can get a better idea of what the property may be worth by asking a real estate professional like me for a valuation, in this case, you'll want to have the property appraised by a licensed appraiser. Generally, it's best to hire an appraiser who has no relationship with anyone involved in the transaction. An appraisal may cost between $500 to $700, but it will be well worth it to have a detailed report showing the fair market value of the property to bring to your siblings. If for some reason one of the heirs doesn't like or agree with the appraisal, you can always have a second appraisal done by hiring another appraiser who again is neutral to the transaction. Once you have a value for the property, the next step is to discuss with the other siblings what each individual share would be like if you were to buy them out. And like I said earlier, it's pretty typical that siblings have equal shares of the property unless there's a will or a trust that states something different. When a property is going through probate and there are, let's say, 4 siblings, for example, the probate court will most likely give each sibling an equal share, or in this case, 25%. In another video, I go over the difference between trusts, wills, and why an estate would have to go through probate, and I'll link that video below so you don't miss anything here. The buyout for each sibling would be based on their percentage or shared interest of the property. Next is the actual payment to your siblings. If you have the cash to buy out your sibling or siblings, you can always do that. Or you may be able to refinance the property or to get an estate loan to pay your siblings their portion of the property. The type of loan and interest rate you get will depend on your use of the property, whether this will be your primary residence, a secondary, or a rental property. I recommend you talk with a financial advisor and a mortgage specialist and let them know what your short-term and long-term goals are regarding the property, and they'll help you know what options are available so that you can make a decision that's best for you. And please keep in mind, if there's an existing mortgage on the property, that mortgage will need to be paid, especially if it is a reverse mortgage. Now, once your siblings have received payment from you, the property doesn't automatically transfer to you. In every real estate transaction, there needs to be documentation or a contract showing the transfer of ownership. you would want a quitclaim deed signed by your siblings. So it's always best to have this transaction go through a title company or have your attorney help with this. You'll also want the deed transferred out of the trust's name or out of your loved one's name and put in your name or the name of your trust or LLC. And your real estate attorney or probate attorney can help with this so that all the correct documents are recorded with the Sacramento County Clerk or Recorder's Office so that you can legally take over the property. Some of these documents will need to be notarized, and your attorney or escrow officer will let you know which forms need to be signed in front of a notary. Now, in most cases, families can work out the details of a buyout and come to an agreement. However, there are times when tensions rise and the situation becomes very emotional for one or more of the siblings. It's always best to sit down with your siblings and to come to an agreement by working through the steps. But if you find yourself in a situation where you and your siblings just can't come to an agreement, there's something called a partition agreement or a partition action. And simply put, a partition action is a lawsuit that you or your sibling can file, and then the judge will decide what happens to the property. It can be very expensive and lengthy, and you would certainly want legal representation. But like I said, in most cases, families can work out the details of what the property is worth, how much is split between the siblings, and then just move forward. If you have any more questions about buying out siblings, or if you've been through this yourself, you are welcome to leave a comment. And if this was helpful, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel. And I'm not asking you to do any of this for a vanity matrix. It sincerely helps me know what questions you have and what's important to you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.